welcome to my weight management clinic, and today I'm going to run through understanding food labels because a lot of people find it very confusing to read those, and this way it can help us all make better, healthier choices when it comes to buying any processed foods especially. I'll just hand you out all of the brochure first, which has got pretty much all the facts that I'm running through in this clinic. Okay, and just a little bit of housekeeping first, exits. And if you need the toilet or anything, it's just through that door, up the path and on your left. Okay. So first, I thought we'd go around and just introduce ourselves and just say first name and what our favourite food is. Mine, Felicity, donuts. Not afraid to say that.
Margot, lollies.
Kylie, any kind of junk food. Andrea, chocolate.
Bridget, broccoli.
Oh!
My favourite food.
Yeah, okay. We'll believe that one. Okay, so basically what we're going to run through in the clinic is we're going to run through the ingredients list, how to read the ingredients, your nutrition information panel, and then the nutrient, just briefly on nutrient content claims and health claims that a lot of foods make. We'll also be doing a little problem solving activity where I've got some photos of similar foods and have a look at them and see if you can work out which one you believe is probably a better choice than the other one as well. So I'll be doing that a little bit later on. So first things first, I'll just go through what energy is because that's the biggest one we all tend to look at on our nutrition labels. We sort of just go straight to the energy, so how many calories or how many kilojoules the food's got. So energy is basically, the scientific definition is the 1 calorie is the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree centigrade. So that's pretty exciting. And your calories, 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.184 kilojoules. So some foods, like I noticed that you look at the label, some have them in kilojoules and some have them in calories and some have both. I still work off of calories. Kilojoules I just can't visualise. No. So you just know if it's got kilojoules on it, divide by about 4.2. Divide by 4.2 and that'll give you roughly how many calories you're having. Now, what determines the amount of calories in the food is the macronutrients, so protein, fats, alcohol, which isn't really a macronutrient, and carbohydrates. So you can see from up there, fat is your most calorie dense food, so if something's high in fats, it's going to be pretty high in calories as well. Fat, 9 calories per gram of fat, and the alcohol is 7 calories per gram, so it's not far behind fat. So when you get these low carb beers and stuff, they've taken a bit of the sugar out, but you've still got the alcohol. Then you've got carbohydrates and protein are lower in calories. They're only 4 calories each per gram. Okay, so, and talking about your macronutrients, so as you just saw, we just discussed macronutrients, your proteins, fats, carbohydrates, water, and some fibre is also classed in there as a macronutrient. So your first one is your protein. That's important because that's involved in a lot of biochemical reactions, growth and repair, especially of your muscles and other tissues. Protein is used to make hormones, so it has a lot of important functions in the body, and our body doesn't tend to store protein. Our only store of protein is muscle. So if you're not getting enough protein and enough calories, your body will actually break down your muscle, which means it's breaking down the protein to give you energy, because protein can also be a source of energy. So next one, carbohydrates. They're important because they are a great source of energy for your body. And carbohydrates can be things like your whole grains, lentils, legumes, all of that sort of stuff. They also help with digestion because in those carbohydrates you've got soluble and insoluble fibre. And because they help with your digestion, they also help with your heart health and with diabetes. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. Fats are important, especially good fats, because again, they provide energy and they're used to make cell structures basically. So they have more than just the insulation properties, because they also do provide us with insulation as well. Then you've got fibre. So fibre, you've got the two types, your insoluble fibre and your soluble fibre. So it sort of forms part of the carbohydrates. Soluble fibre is the stuff, it absorbs water and it basically makes like a gel, slippery gel substance, so it makes things move more easily through the digestive tract. And what soluble fibre also does is it binds bile salts in your body. Now, when that happens, it means they don't get reabsorbed. Your body uses cholesterol to make bile salts. So soluble fibre helps reduce your cholesterol, and it also helps to slow the absorption of sugars as well. So soluble fibre is very important. So that's the things that, that's in your legumes and things like that. Your insoluble fibre is the stuff that adds the bulk to your stool, lovely conversation, and that's all the roughage. So that's all the insoluble stuff, like celery, all that stringy bit. We can't digest that properly. So that's insoluble fibre, and again, that's important for digestive health and heart health. Okay, so I'm going to run through the information panel briefly. Then I'm going to hand out these sheets for you guys to have a look at, and we'll sort of see what you think. So the information panel on the side. So got the Weet-Bix here, nutrient information panel. This shows you the macronutrients that are in the food. So you've got your protein, your carbs, and your fats. They'll also show you sodium, which is quite important. They will often break down the carbohydrates, how many of those carbs are actually sugars. And then with your fats, they'll break them down into saturated fat and sometimes now trans fat, that big one that's not good for your health at all. They will also sometimes have other nutrients, like if they've got magnesium or calcium or some things like that, they'll have that listed on the side as well. Now, when you're looking at your nutrient information panel, if you're going to compare two foods, you want to compare per 100 grams, or if it's a liquid, it's per 100 mils, so you can compare the two of them equally. Because serving sizes, they'll actually have the serving sizes listed on that nutrient information panel. So for instance, with the Weet-Bix, serving size is 30 grams, which is 2 biscuits. But if you compare this to another cereal, the serving size might be 45 grams, so it's best to look at the per 100 grams. And that's the other thing, with the nutrition information panel, what we serve up is a portion, and serving size is what the manufacturer says is their serving size. So like 2 Weet-Bix, you might be a 6 Weet-Bix person, so that's your portion, but the serving size is only 2 biscuits. Okay, so first you'll have, so up on this one you can see it's got energy and it's got it in kilojoules. So 1667 kilojoules per 100 grams. Protein, 6 grams. Fat, total fat is 3 grams. Now, with your total fat, to choose a healthy food, per serving, per 100 grams, you want the total fat to be less than 10 per 100 grams, okay? So that's total fat. The saturated fat underneath, you want that to be less than 3 grams per 100 grams to choose a healthy food, okay? So like that, 10 grams for total fat, less than 10 grams of total fat, and less than 3 grams for for the saturated fat. Carbohydrates, because that often includes the fibre and that in there, they'll actually split that down into sugars as well. So if you look at this one, 1 teaspoon of sugar is about 4.2 grams. So if you want to work out how many teaspoons of sugar is in 100 grams, you divide 26.7 for this one, divide by 4.2. So what's that? Who can work that out? Yeah, it's about 5 per 100 grams. But per serving, it's 2 grams. But still, it's not great. Sodium is one that I want to talk about because people always ask how much salt to have, they're never sure. You want the sodium to be less than 400 milligrams per 100 grams in serving. So that's milligrams, 400 milligrams per 100 grams. I've got all of this listed in here as well, so you can refer back to it because there's heaps of information. Okay, so that's that. Then, ingredients they will have listed on the nutrition information panel along here. So the ingredients has to be listed in order of weight from highest to lowest. So if we just go back to that other one, the other slide. So here we go, we've got corn, sugar, peanuts, honey, molasses, barley, malt, extract, salt, vitamins. So in this one, the ingredient that's in there the most of is corn. And sugar is the second on the list, so they've added in quite a bit of sugar. And then you go down, vitamins is last on the list, so you know there's very small amount of vitamins added in there. So basically whatever's higher up on that ingredients list, that's what it's got more of. So if your sugar and your fat is high up on that ingredients list, possibly not a good choice. And then you know how they'll often have like all natural, they'll have added calcium or added something, but it's right down the bottom of the ingredients list, so we sort of sprinkle a bit on. So how's this so far? Not moving too quickly? No. So we've got nutrition information panel, your energy, your protein, fat, remember total fat, what does that need to be? Less than?
Your fat, less than 10.
Yep, less than 10. And saturated fat needs to be less than? 3. Cool. And sodium? Woohoo!
What about carbs?
Carbs. You want to look at the sugar intake. You want to try and get that down low as possible. That's what you're more concerned about, is the actual sugar. So, I mean, if you think, if you have a cup of tea, would you add 2 teaspoons of sugar to your cup of tea? Yes, my mother would. But a lot of people probably wouldn't add, you know, some things have, in one serving, have like 4 teaspoons of sugar, 5 teaspoons of sugar. You wouldn't actually add that into a cup of tea. So you want to keep that down as low as possible. Okay, so with that, I'm going to give you guys, so you can work together or individually, or you can come together. So we've got the first one, we've got gluten-free Wheat Bix and low-in cocoa bombs, which were in the health food section of Woolworths. So, which is quite interesting because it claims, you know, gluten-free, which is a buzzword, no artificial colours or flavours, and low fat. So I don't know if you want to come together and have a look at that, or move the chairs in a little bit.
Sweet little legs.
Right.
Yep, I'll just stick it up there. Right.
So, can you read it? So when you compare the 100 grams and the 100 grams,
We've got 1580 here.
so I'm going to put up here.
So this one is fat and
3.6 this one.
1.2.
Saturated is 0.6.
Zero.
These ones are better on saturated fat.
is confusing, doesn't it? When you actually start looking at every little nitty gritty.
What do you say? The fats or the, what do you
Well, have a look
prioritise, the fats or the sugars?
Have a look at the ingredients as
Yeah, I
well.
said sugar myself.
Ingredients should be listed.
sorghum.
Oh, the top, okay, so sugar's second, so we've got rice flour, sugar, and cocoa powder we generally usually use for sugar.
Mm.
Two.
Whole grain sorghum.
Glucose,
Golden
more sugar.
syrup. There's your sugar.
And that's the thing,
Golden syrup.
sugar,
Colour caramel, more sugar.
sugar has so many different names, same with fat. There's hundreds of different names for sugar and the way they hide it in, and I think that's what the new, that's what they're talking about, the latest documentary the other night. That was one that they're actually talking about, to simplify food labels, because some of the names you have no idea that that's actually sugar.
You didn't think it was good for you, that's
Yeah,
why.
exactly.
Like extra tolerance stuff.
Yeah,
well, see, that
exactly.
one's got, it hasn't actually got sugar listed, it's got, golden syrup, I think it said.
Yeah, golden syrup.
Yeah.
So yeah, same
It's
thing.
second on the list.
So you've
Yeah.
got 1, 2, 3, 4 potential sugar candidates in there
Yeah,
by different names.
exactly.
I think I only saw golden syrup on that one.
Yeah.
So this one, yeah,
Sugar,
coconut sugar,
sugar.
glucose,
Yeah.
natural flavour could potentially have sugar too. Colour, caramel is generally a taste. So
Yeah.
and emulsifier, 4, 7, 1.
I think I picked the Weet Bix and
Pick Weet Bix.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll pick Weet Bix. I would pick the Weet Bix too on that one. It's a little bit more simple in the ingredients, and yeah, as you said, the sugars. So with the Weet Bix, sugars per 100 grams only 2.2. Sugars per 100 grams in the cocoa bombs 22.7.
Oh,
There
was
you go.
the point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's 20,
we thought
yeah.
it was 22.
So yeah, it's got a hell of a lot more sugar in the cocoa bombs.
Yeah.
But like most of us, you know, parents, mums and that, you go to the health food section,
And being
And that's
gluten free, it will
healthy.
have a higher sugar content.
yeah, and that gluten free, like, you know, all that on the front. And what I often say to people is, if they have low fat, or if they advertise low fat, they have to stick with that. It has to be low fat, but they often replace the flavour with sugars.
And it's reverse
So-
as well, the low salt.
Yeah.
food.
So that's what you've got to be careful of. This one, I thought was interesting. I've got two of these, so don't have to share them. Actually, I've got three. So this one we've got chopped milk and A2 milk.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually quite surprised when I looked at that one. Wow.
This is supposed to be skim milk, isn't it? Oh, this is the milk. This is the good one, but
Yeah, but the chopped milk is skim milk.
Oh, yeah.
Less fat.
Reconstituted skim milk. That's why it's got less fat, but. So the serving size is different.
Yeah. So remember when you compare them per 100
That's
mils.
only 250. Okay. What's this one?
So-
How much is a serve? One pack is 600 mils. Okay, so if you look at it on that, they're much,
That's more like more.
Yeah.
That'll be 25 roughly, so it'll be 70-ish.
yeah.
Yeah, so just remember, this one is like, it's not 100 grams, it's 100 mils servings that you compare.
But then, that milk has more carb in it.
Quite interesting look at this one.
Because obviously the serving size, so you're technically doubling and and some. Yeah.
Imagine doing all of your shopping like this. Comparing absolutely
I always
everything.
compare carbs.
Yeah.
And the other day, muesli bars, health food muesli bars had twice the sugar than other things.
Yep.
Because Rory's like, no, just let me have a look, because I started right away.
It's so
I always
misleading.
like this stuff.
And this is why hopefully this will help, because you know, you try and trust the shops or trust, you know, manufacturers and that too. If it's in a health food section, you think it's going to be healthy, you think it's going to be less sugar, better for you, high fibre, but it's not
It's only
necessarily
like
that way.
9.6 in Uncle Toby's and 27 or 28.
Wow.
And healthy.
And then
$6.
sometimes I found like, because I shop at Coles, I found that the Coles brands sometimes are better than
Yes.
the name brands too.
I discovered that with, what was it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what I last.
I was looking at Crunchy Nut cornflakes because
Yeah.
that's what Oscar likes. Not terribly healthy. It is a lot of
Yeah.
sugar. Compared that with the Coles one, and the Coles one actually had less sugar and a hell of a lot less sodium too. So
Just relying on everyone being in a hurry, just going there.
Yeah.
Oh, health food, that'll be
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, convenient. Yeah.
So which one do we think out of those two?
Sarah, I don't know,
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the chocolate.
I take that, the chocolate
Yeah.
milk.
Yeah, it's because it's made with skim milk. It's actually got less calories because it hasn't got as much fat. Where A2 milk's got more fat, so of course its calories are going to be higher.
I've never seen an A2 cow though, I must say.
No, hasn't got A2 written on it. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting with that one. Now, we'll just do one more.
Kids will drink milk or never give them a chocolate milk, or it's just plain.
Yeah. Is normal milk the same or is it just this age?
It's very, very similar. Yeah, very similar. And that's not a skim milk. I buy whole milk. So that's the difference there. You're comparing like a whole milk with a skim milk, which is the shop milk. But even sugars per 100 mils, there's not a big difference. There's 6.9 grams of sugar per 100 mils in the chopped milk, and there's 4.7 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a muchness, but so it's not as bad as what people think. The only other thing is when you look at the ingredients, you have got flavours and salt and vegetable gum added. You've got those extra additives in that. Now this is one that's typical when you gain health food section. You see organic on the label, so you start to think that it tricks people into thinking that's going to be healthier. Keep that one going.
It's just stares you blankly in the face that
Yeah.
there's too much fat in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The energy.
Wow.
And on that one, you've got the star rating system. Like you see a couple of them
Yeah.
introduce a star rating system. So, of course, the more stars, the healthier the food is supposed to be. And that gives you a quick sort of at a glance look which one's going to be a healthier version.
The saturated fat is always double the healthy.
Yeah. So, someone goes to the health food section.
The mini bites.
Yeah. And if you look at the ingredients on the mini bites, there's a hell of a lot less ingredients.
Yeah.
Than what is in the corn
And
chips,
there's
the
more of
organic
the,
corn chips.
The solid, like this one, like the mini bites got 91% brown rice, so they're only 75% corn.
Yeah, exactly.
The
What else
only thing
is
is
in
the
there?
the organic corn chips are better on sodium
So-
than what the,
Mini bites
yeah, but I still think I go with
and
the-
organic corn chips. Whoops. So we go mini bites for that one. Cool. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And then when you actually, and then it's like you can't just look at the food label. You've got to, or the nutrition panel. You then look at the ingredients and dissect everything. So it can get a little bit confusing. Okay, so I just mentioned about the Health Star rating. So that just gives you a quick sort of at a glance look. Some labels will also have on the nutrition panel or even on the front, they'll have percentage daily intake. That percentage daily intake is for the average adult, okay? So you may need more or less depending on your size and whether you're in weight loss or weight maintenance, etc. Now, health claims and nutrient content claims. So these are actually quite regulated. They actually do have to meet standards to make health claims and nutrient content claims on their packets, and they have to meet certain standards for that. So if it says it's organic, it does have to be organic. There's certain standards that it will have to meet. If it says it's low fat, same thing, okay? So that is quite well regulated. So, in summary, so we've got energy, kilojoules or calories, and to convert kilojoules to calories, you divide it by 4.82.
4.2.
4.12. 4.2.
184.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. How many decimal places were there after that? 4.184 or something. And then you've got your macronutrients, which we have protein, carbs, fats. Fats would further divide down into the saturated fats, carbs. You've got your sugars, you've also got your fibre, etc. That's on your nutrition information panel. And remember, when you're looking at solid foods, you want to compare 100 grams with 100 grams. And when you're looking at liquids, it's 100 mils with 100 mils. And that nutrition information panel will actually, even if you look at the serving size, it'll basically, is it worth it for the amount of calories that's actually in there as well. And then Health Star rating was up on the front. Not all foods have that at the moment. Gives you a quick at a glance, whether it's any good. So, for instance, I think I mentioned the Kellogg's Crunchy Nuts and the Coles brand, similar cornflakes. They have the Health Star rating on the front. I think Coles one had a better Health Star rating than what the Kellogg's brand did. And then, like I said, the nutrient and health claims, they actually have to meet certain standards to make those claims. And that's it. So how is that, guys?
That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not too confusing. Have you got any questions or anything?
So if, like, you're comparing, like, a product's got similar fat content or sugar, what's the preference? Would you go less fat or less sugar, or?
Well, if you go less fat, that cuts out a lot of calories. So if you're looking at calorie intake, because the fat is 9 calories per gram, so whereas the sugar is 4 calories per gram. But it also depends on the situation, because I suppose if you've got kids, some kids, when you give them something that's full of sugar, it hypes them up. And the other thing is fat can make you feel a bit fuller for longer. So it depends on the situation. If it's for yourself, if you're watching calorie intake, you're better off probably eliminating the fat.
I used to get really confused reading low fat yogurt, and then when you look at the sugar content, it's got
too-
more. So it's, and then if you buy normal yogurt, it's got, more fat or less sugar. So you
I think basically, when you look at the ingredients, and if the sugar's all been added or if the fat's all been added in afterwards, choose the one that's hasn't got it added in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So basically, if you go for a low fat yogurt and then you put the ingredients and they've added in sugar, probably not good. If the sugar's naturally occurring or the fat's naturally occurring in there, then that's a completely different matter. Because that's like if you're having a steak, you're going to have fat on there. Or if you're having bacon, things like that, that's going to be naturally occurring. Avocado, it's a healthy fat. So whereas you go for fruit, again, it's naturally occurring sugar, and people sort of shouldn't have fruit, but it's naturally occurring. You're not going to absorb all of it because you've got the fibre there to slow down that absorption anyway. So I think when it comes to that, if you get confused with the two panels, then look at the ingredients and what's actually added in and where it is on the ingredients. And if it's up high on the ingredients list, then get rid of that and go for the other one. Wonderful.